Hey everyone, and welcome to Broken by Concept episode 85. Welcome back. My name is Coach Curtis. First name Coach, second name or last name Curtis.
What do you do, Curtis?
And I coach mid lane. And then what do you do, Nathan? What's your name?
My name is Nathan Mott. I actually have the... I'm brave enough to use my last name, Mott.
Oh, wow.
And
You're so brave.
I help people get better at jungling in League of Legends.
You coach jungle.
I help people get better at jungling at League of Legends. Okay. I don't call myself a coach.
Okay.
If you guys are seeing the... One light's died. We've had some technical difficulties on the podcast because you guys know there's lots of technical difficulties on this scruffy podcast.
It's just out of control.
So Curtis has here's the proper artificial light, and I've got natural light. It's going to look a bit scuffed, but this is an audio podcast. No one watches the YouTube anyway. Everyone watches on Spotify.
You're going to get roasted for that, but it's on its way. We got some new lighting.
We will be upgrading our facilities.
We will. We're going to be upgrading our facilities here in the near future. That's for sure.
What's this episode about, Curtis?
So, I listen to another podcast occasionally. Shout out to Andrew Huberman. I know there's some people here who listen to it. Also, amazing resource for it's probably one of the most informative podcast / YouTube channels out there. Just Andrew Huberman. And this guy does interviews with like professors and stuff like that, and
scientists,
and I stumbled across this recent episode that he did that spoke to the guest named Dr. Alia Crum, associate professor of psychology at Stanford University and director of the Stanford Mind and Body Laboratory. Dr. Crum is a world expert on mindsets and beliefs and how they shape our responses to stress, exercise, and even foods we eat. Now, I stumbled across it. I was listening casually, and I was...
Why is this relevant for the BBC?
Well, let's break it down first.
Is this a League of Legends podcast, or is this a scientific
Well, I want to tell the story of how it all came together, right? Because I was making dinner,
and
I was listening to it, and I found myself having to pause it and just be like, "Holy moly! This is all about." I mean, we can tie this directly to League. Mindset, we talk about mindset all the time. Mindset, the biggest buzzword in the 21st century. And here, Alia Crum breaks down how a mindset works and how a mindset can actually have a physiological response in our body. So I remember I was at home making dinner, and I just found myself grabbing a notepad, having to write down notes because this is just game-changing. This is game-changing. Okay.
I love science, and I love these, because at the end of the day, Curtis and I, we just talk about our experiences. You know, we're not scientists. We don't do studies. We don't research.
We just talk out of our ass.
We just talk out of our ass. We're not Harvard experts. So when we see, I mean, a lot of people love our ADHD episode, and that was
inspired by Andrew Huberman.
We did a lot of research on that, and then we did the Andrew Huberman podcast for that one as well, and people love that episode. So we're going to do the same thing for this episode, get more scientific.
Well, I feel like that's actually a big theme of the BBC. We kind of grab inspiration from like,
outside industries,
from other sports and other industries and tie it back to League and solo queue. So, you know, this is a very in-depth topic, but TLDR, we're going to be talking about mindsets, okay? And the first thing we need to talk about here is what the hell is a mindset? Let's define a mindset.
Curtis, you got the mindset playlist. Mindset, who cares? It's all about items and playing the OP champs. Who needs a mindset in League of Legends? You're talking...
What actually, you know, when you hear that word mindset, it's
a buzzword.
It's a buzzword. You know, it doesn't really mean anything to a lot of people. So one of the things she said in the podcast was that think of a mindset as like a baseline belief, right? Think of it as like, that's like the foundation. That's what you already believe about that one thing. And she kind of mentioned how it's a connection, or she thinks of it as kind of like a connection between the conscious and subconscious. And I really resonate with that, because when you think about your mindset towards anything, right? What is usually there, like the baseline thing, is what you've just been conditioned to believe, or what, you know, it's been shaped by your upbringing, the cultural influences, things like that. So I think that's like a really simplistic way of viewing a mindset. You had also a definition, right?
Our mindsets are influenced by upbringing, how our parents talked about certain topics. I mean, things we're going to be focusing on today is, you know, how they talked about maybe food, stress, video games.
Yep.
Culture and media, influential others. So that's like influencers, I guess. listening to Curtis and I guess.
Yep.
And then the last one is your conscious choice.
Right. So in this podcast, Aaliyah described a few experiments. So let's first talk about the one that blew us away, which was the milk. You want to start with the milkshake experiment?
Yep.
So essentially, TLDR, they did this experiment where they gave a group of people a milkshake, and they said this was a really, indulgent, fatty, high-calorie milkshake. And then they measured the stomach's response to how it essentially processed this milkshake. And then, how long was it? Was it a week or a month?
It was a week.
I think it was a week later, they got the same group of people, gave them the exact same milkshake, and they were told that it was a low-calorie health shake. And then they measured the stomach's response to processing that milkshake. And what they found is that when the people came in and they thought that it was a healthy shake, an indulgent shake, their body literally had a different response. Their stomach processed the food differently.
If you can watch the podcast, we'll have the link there. She talks about the specific science around it, but we don't know exactly. She talked about threefold some protein in the body.
Like ghrelin or something.
Yeah.
That's not important. But when I heard this, it kind of blew my mind in a way. Like, you're like, holy crap! Like we've always spoke about the importance of how you think of something, how you perceive an event, but we couldn't prove that. But there was experiments done that literally proved there's a physiological response to how you perceive something.
Yeah, well, the craziest thing to me about this experiment was, so we're starting off really basic, like literally food. Like this just this thing that's going to go in your body, and it says the same nutrients, same everything, but it will be processed differently based on how you view it. And the other thing as well is she talked about if you view food specifically as fattening and like indulgent, you actually be less hungry.
You'll be more satisfied with that, whatever you ate.
But if you ate something like something you perceive healthy and it was sort of like a chore, you would actually be more hungry.
Your body will literally be more hungry, which is fascinating. Now, you may ask, how does this all tie into league? Okay. Now, I want to talk a little bit about here, and the obvious one, people are going to say, well, isn't that just a classic placebo effect? Well, yeah, it is a placebo effect, but let's go a little bit deeper here. What she said was that the benefit of something, now this could be, let's input coaching in here. Let's input a 3-block. Let's input anything that you get, anything that you do. The benefit of something isn't just the raw effect of that activity. It is made up of 3 things. And it's also, there's the actual benefit of whatever it is you do. There's the social expectations revolved around that activity. There's the stress involved, and there's also the cultural expectations. These are all things that kind of interact around this placebo effect. So you can't, so here it says this: placebo effects actually are 3 things. Is the social context of whatever it is you're doing. There's the mindset and belief you have towards it. And then there's the natural physiological responses. So let's just say you do a coaching session, Nathan. Someone in the Soul 2, they come into the allocated platinum coaching. You do a session with them. You look over their gameplay, and I'm assuming there's a group of people in there listening as well. Well, when they go into the next block, they're going to be thinking about, oh wow, I just had this session with Nathan and all the Soul 2 people, they're all watching me. And so obviously it's going to get pumped up. They're probably feeling like this gave them a lot of value. And then again, if they felt as though that coaching session gave them a lot of value, it's going to have an impact on literally what they get from the session. But then there's also on top of that, what they genuinely learned from that session. So there's to reiterate, the 3 things that placebo effects actually are: the social context, the mindset and beliefs towards it, and the natural physiological responses.
It's funny because we have a saying, the Soul 2 buff. So you join Soul 2 the first review and suddenly you're winning games.
Well, that explains it, doesn't it, in a way?
Yeah.
A part of it is that you join. I mean, there's probably many other things like your just intensity might be higher.
But that's what I think it is. I think it's purely just you're actually playing Focus League Legends. You're actually thinking about what you're doing because
you're putting your money there as well. Like you're by financially committing to something, you're not dicking around anymore. You're like, okay, I got to get value out of this thing, right? But that I would say that's an element of it. It's like a slight placebo effect. Nothing has really changed, but now that you've got...
Well, yeah, then they'll go to old habits, and they have all these challenges, and then suddenly it's like, because everyone joins, they have the first like good blocks and stuff, and they go, oh my god, it's all changed, and then it's like, oh no, back to looks normal again.
So, but the first thing that sprang to mind, Nathan, when I heard this was, a common question we get in the BBC is, Curtis and Nathan, how come my friend spams games and they get a lot of success in solo queue, and then I do it and it doesn't work? Or just why do I have to do 3 blocks when my friend over here does spams games and he gets results? If you think about what one of the most culturally, in League anyway, accepted ways of improving, or only way to improve, was spamming games. If you think about it, we think back to Korean solo queue, Faker,
the
Chinese,
stories of
the best players in the world.
Uzi, he's literally has hand, wrist issues because he plays so much.
Faker playing all night, being the best solo queue player. All the best pro players spamming games. So if your benchmark is all the best players spam games, that's all the best people who win worlds, they all spam games. In your mind, no matter what, it's you're gonna believe that spamming games is the way to go. That is just the culturally accepted way to improve. Now, if you believe that, if you genuinely believe that spamming games is gonna make you better, it's gonna have a positive effect on what you take away from that experience. Now, the funny thing is, though, is that let's just say you've been introduced to Nathan and I, and we've spoken about the dangers of spamming games. We've spoken about the importance of 3 blocking. If you go ahead and spam games after that, you're now probably going to have, even though nothing has really changed, you'll probably have a negative response to those spamming of games now that you're now aware of what could be going wrong. Now your mindset is going to shift heading into that.
So placebo is like a phenomenon in medicine, because that's where you hear it from. When you're told about the side effects of, say, like some injection or some medication, you're actually more likely to experience those side effects. Right.
And even Andrew Uberman said he doesn't even read the side effects of medication anymore because he doesn't want to be aware of them. And it's super fascinating because I actually view that in many ways similar to coaching, where have you ever had a client where we come out of it and you're like, I just made that guy worse. Right?
I just
like it's a meme. It's a meme, but it's true. Like sometimes you can make a player worse through coaching. Like you come out of a session and like, God damn, like I didn't need to go into that. I shouldn't even have touched on that. And now he's aware of something.
All the mistakes that he could be making. Yeah.
Well, because here we go. Look, this is what she said. Elia said in the podcast. She said, sometimes we are actually like, we're already experiencing something. Like we're just unaware of that we're experiencing that. But now when whether it's a solution or non-solution, once it's brought to that person's attention, now they're thinking, holy shit, I've been doing this wrong the whole time. And they're starting to question everything that they do. Or like you say, you point out that this person doesn't pan their camera and misses opportunities. They're going to start panicking. And again, now they're more aware of it. They're going to play worse in a way.
Yep.
So at times.
Yep.
So that's something at play here as well. But yeah, I think that, and this is the challenge for us, Nathan, when we're kind of talking about having a good quality process, is that in a way, because it's so new, it hasn't really been proven. Like in a way, it's kind of like this new fancy medicine that's still in trial, that is still like, it's still getting tested. So for people from the outside, they're thinking, well, I thought the only medicine was to do this, spam games, and this is this new medicine.
And be talented as well.
And be talented, right? And this is this new outside of the box thing. Like it's not proven to many people. So they come in with trepidation. Which again, if you come in half-assing the 3-block method, you're not going to get results anyway. Like if you've never done the 3-block method, right? And all your friendship group have spam games and they're even higher elo than you. But then you're like, oh, I'm going to give it a go. But you're still not believing that it would work. It's not going to work because every part of you, your mindset is going to be like, this doesn't work. I want to, you're playing to prove yourself that the 3-block doesn't work rather than proving that it will work. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Which I think is very powerful.
The hotel worker study.
Walk us through that one, Nathan.
So she talked about what they did. They went to go find a group. This is more talking about exercise. A group of people that, with the nature of their work, they're actually doing a lot of exercise, but they wouldn't think they're doing.
So these are like maids, right? Like people who like clean the rooms
so
and everything.
Linens, climbing stairs, like all these. And what
yeah.
they did was, they told the workers that they have separate groups, right? Like they told like a certain group of workers like that actually they were actually doing a lot of exercise, and then another group, that was saying that they didn't say anything. They just worked as normal. And what they found was the hotel workers that were now told that actually what you're doing is like really good for you and exercise, they actually had benefits to their health. They actually lost weight, right? And they decreased their blood pressure, and they're doing the exact same thing as the workers that, like their peers, weren't told that there was health benefits from what their work was doing.
So the awareness, the awareness of the benefits of what they were doing changed their body's response to the activity. Incredible.
Their mindset shifted.
So their body adapts to the mindset, or their mindset alters.
Because they asked these workers, they said, do you feel like you do before the experiment? Do you feel like you do exercise? And they said, no, they do nothing.
Well, I think they rated themselves like a 3 out of 10 or something out of being physically fit or something like that. It's incredible. It's actually incredible. And how do you think that connects with league, Nathan?
Well, again, that's just another example, I think, of the importance of changing mindset. I mean, I think
like believing that what you're doing is good.
Yeah, I mean, she goes and talks about.
Well, I think, Nathan, sorry to take a step back, and I'm sorry if this detours you a little bit, but in one of the other previous episodes we spoke about the importance of believing you can do something. And, the premise of this episode is I want to kind of talk about how belief is, it's not just hoodoo, voodoo, like, it's Curtis, whatever, I can believe that I can climb, but how's it really going to help me? Like, this is the science behind why believing you can do something is important, and how your belief in something will have a physiological response in your brain in terms of, literally your hormones.
Yeah, so what I was going to say was going on. So I guess there's like bigger pictures, like believing you can actually climb high rank. And then you go break down specific mindset towards the certain things in the game specifically. So I wrote some down here.
Okay.
What's your mindset towards your teammate dying? What's your mindset towards a loss streak? What's your mindset towards a win streak? What's your mindset to losing lane? What's your mindset to winning lane?
What's your mindset to a mistake?
A mistake. What's your mindset to your definition of like, how like you're winning and losing, like how you actually overall won a game? I mean, it gets really specific. For me, my mindset, when I'm reviewing a game, well, this is as a jungler's perspective, and someone on my teammate dies, my default mindset belief is, how did my actions get that person to die? Could I have predicted that? And like, let's say if it's the enemy jungler ganking it specifically, right? Should I have pinged it? Those are the first things that's going through my head. But let's say maybe another player, they think their mindset towards the teammates dying, they're trash. They should have known the enemy jungler was there. And that may be true in some aspect, but think about how different my approach is, my mindset for the exact same situation. This is going back into the hotel worker study and the Milkshake study, right? What's an example for mid lane, Curtis, in terms of just for people you've observed in the MLA, and let's say someone like losing lane phase? Like, what's your mindset when you lose lane phase, Curtis?
Well, I would say a more common one is when something goes wrong, like a fight happens, and like you're not, like say your team gets engaged on and you're not there, your mindset, or like a lot of people's mindset is, they should have they shouldn't have got engaged on, like I'm catching this wave, when it should be, why am I not there? Like, what could I have done to be there? And could I have foreseen that fight from happening? That's my mindset in a game. Like, if I'm in the side lane catching a wave and my team fights, that's on me.
That's on you, yeah.
I missed something. I missed a variable somewhere that told me that I needed to be there, or I could have communicated way in advance what how I wanted the map to play out. Like it's all on me in some way, shape, or form. I just got to find where it is. I think that's a common one. I think that's a very big one from a mindset perspective. And I think this also ties in, Nathan, really perfectly to the buds experiment. Okay, so I think this is where things will get interesting in terms of the way, like the mindset you have directly queuing into the game, queuing into that solo queue game where you're pressing queue up, you press play, you're in the loading screen, what your mindset is heading into that game. And I think this experiment ties it perfectly. So essentially what this experiment was is that they interviewed a bunch of Navy SEALs or people trying to become a Navy SEAL. So there's the Hell Week or whatever it's called, the Buds training week, whatever it's called. And they asked a question, something along the lines of, I don't know if you have the question, but it was something along the lines of how well do you respond to stress?
How do you view stress?
How do you view stress? Sorry.
Do you view it as a positive, enhances your ability, or is it like a negative?
Does it debilitate
you?
And
this was a very specific one because the public health messaging around stress in general is that it's bad. Like, I mean, what's your perception of stress? You know, that's like a question I'm asking the audience right now. You know. And your response is going to be, it's negative, it's bad. That's what we're all told.
That's the entire narrative.
That's the public messaging around
stress is bad, increases your cortisol. Like the entire narrative has always ever been stress is a negative.
So what's her name again? Aaliyah did was she asked the question, okay, well, let's actually look into this stress, you know, and how mindset affects stress. And then the Buds experiment here.
Well, I think the question was, will your mindset towards stress impact... Will it have a physiological response on your body? And I think just taking a step back before we even dive into this one here, the same goes for a lot of the public narratives in League. What is your, do you subscribe to the narrative that there is a such thing as loser's queue? Do you subscribe to the narrative that most games are out of your control, or that you get trolls all the time, or... What underlying narrative do you subscribe to? Or even actually tying it back to stress, do you view a mistake in a game just at a simple level as a negative or a positive? That's like a really simple one. Like when a mistake happens, are you now mad and pissed off, or are you, that's a growth opportunity. That's something that I can learn from. That's like at a really simple level. But yeah, anyway, according to their survey, they said I think 10% of people, 10 to 15% of people who were in this Hell Week viewed stress as a positive. They viewed it as an enhancing, like they thrive in stressful situations, right? And it just so happens that 10, 15%...
More likely, it was more like the people that viewed it as a positive stress, they were more likely to succeed.
They basically predicted with a very high level of accuracy who would make it through the Hell Week. How incredible is that? They literally were able to pretty accurately predict who would make it through one of the hardest, most grueling training weeks of all time, right?
Before they even took it.
Right? And you would think that it probably is all physical, all talent. But no, it's actually up here. It's your mindset towards something as simple as stress. So essentially what they found is that the people that were able to get through the Hell Week, when shit hits the fan and they're incredibly stressed, if you believe that stress is actually going to make you better, you're going to perform better. You're just going to overall perform better. Now, I think this is interesting because I think this ties into one of the key messages that I wanted to get across in this podcast, which is there's two responses that generally happen when a stressful event happens. Two responses. Someone either freaks out or they check out. Now, when you think of our lives, right, even like our family and just people we know, that is incredibly accurate. Like I know from my experience with people I know, when shit hits the fan, they're just going to check out a lot of the time. This is too stressful for them. The example that she used in the podcast was, how are you responding to the global pandemic and COVID? Are you going to, check out, pretend nothing, just dissociate from whatever's happening around you in the world, which I would say is a tactic that a lot of people are employing, or are you going to freak the fuck out and be like, oh my God, what are the consequences it's going to have on our social dynamics, and how is this going to influence my son and daughter in their schooling? And you're going to start to go through everything. You're just going to freak the hell out, right? It's quite uncommon that someone to a stressful event will take a step back and see this as a challenge. And that's what I loved about this, is that when you are able to see stress as a challenge rather than a threat, this is something that, like, a challenge that I'm ready to face. It's going to be hard. It's going to be fucking hard, but it's something that I can push myself. I can, put my best effort forward, and I can get something from it. You have a positive response to now that stressful event.
Change your mindset from using the words like, oh, how do I cope or manage this stress? It's like, how can I thrive with this stress?
That's so powerful, man. Like, think about that what you just said. Cope? How do I cope or avoid this stressful event? Versus, how do I thrive? Even if in your mind you don't even think that's possible. Like, even if you're like, how the hell could that be possible? You know, you gotta again adopt this mindset, and that's where it all starts. Is that's the question? How this stressful situation? How can I see this? This is a challenge. To tell yourself this is a challenge, and this is the advice I now gave to Niall. So Niall in my Midland Academy, he's starting to get high, right? He's never been Grandmaster before. He got Grandmaster. He's starting to really like get into high ranked games, and I told him, man, there's no such thing as an easy game anymore. You're going to be challenged.
Just accept it.
You're going to be, every game will be hard.
You got to sweat every game.
Now, but rather than viewing everything as a stressful game and, oh my God, I'm going to lose. I'm versus these great mid laner, 700 OP mid laner here. And okay, let's just establish the fact that every game is going to be a challenge. Every game is going to be hard as fuck. Now, what are you going to do about it? It's a challenge. Rise up to the occasion. Express your best self. Get into it. Don't hide the fact. Don't run away from it. Don't run away from the fact that it's going to be hard. Don't freak out either. Tackle the challenge. It's a challenge. We love challenges. Train your brain to love and thrive in challenging environments. And it says here, our mind and body adapts when we view things as a challenge, not a threat. Very easy to view things as a threat, isn't it?
It's like fight or flight, right? We run away from what we think are threats.
And, you know, this one hits very close to home for me personally, because in my life, you know, when I think about times where I've done my greatest work and I've had my greatest accomplishments, it's always been in stressful scenarios. Always. I've never done amazing work when I'm comfortable. Never.
Doesn't happen.
Doesn't happen. It never happens. When I'm in my comfort zone, I never do amazing work. When your back is against the wall, like there's that, you know, there's like that cheesy quote. It's like, where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
Like I genuinely believe in that. Like if you're backed against the wall and you've got no way out and you've got to figure out a way, like humans can do some incredible stuff. Like I genuinely believe like humans can do amazing stuff. And it all stems because what's the alternative? You've got nothing to lose. You've got to figure out a way. It's a challenge. And then if you kind of adopt that mentality, I mean, it's a do or die right now, then you can do some incredible stuff. And just switching mindset. Switch that mindset.
It was a Bruce Lee. He said he doesn't pray for an easy life. He prays for the strength to endure a difficult one.
I love that quote. It's so beautiful. And I think that this is a bit of a, you know, I think this is going to help our coaching. Because, you know, I'm going to actually expose someone else he's in the book club, Nathan. He's in the book club. He's in the MLA. I'm going to expose him right now. I'm going to read out what he said to me. And I even told him I'm going to expose you on the BBC. He said this. Here we go. I'm going to read it out here. So he said, yep, my threat assessment. Okay, so he says, I've really been enjoying Valorant. You know, I just want to rank up with my friendship group. I've been improving much faster than League. The game is fun and easy, easier than CSGO and easier than League. There's obviously a cost to balancing both games. I want League to be my main game, and it has been for a long time. But he says in exercising terms, I want to take like a League deload to potentiate my enjoyment improvement over the long term. I mean, and when I'm reading this, I'm always just thinking like he's just looking for excuses, right? Like he's looking for an easy way out, right? He says, sometimes I can't play more than one game. Like it's just too hard for him, right? Like I've even thought about quitting my favorite champion Zed. Like my plan is to go 1 to 2 weeks of playing 1 to 2 solo queues a day with high quality review and just enjoy Valorant for a while. I believe this would be better than taking a complete break, blah, 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 blah. And he says this: League is like my wife and Valorant is like my mistress right now. I'm playing Valorant and enjoying it so much more. I'm in League games losing hard and just wishing I didn't even queue up in the first place. And he says, one thing I've noticed is that I'll ego peak in Valorant a lot. I know I'm better and you're getting one tapped type thing. And essentially he's asking, how can I balance both and all this stuff? And he's saying he's been having all these rough games and he's posted this loss streak. And he said to me lastly, I think this is all to do with this is all just my mental. He doesn't think it's his level of play. And I said, you're fundamentally disrespecting the game. But then what I thought, like really reflecting on this, is that he's not viewing, like he's faced a challenge, like he's faced like a plateau, like shit's got hard for him for whatever reason.
Stressful
situation. And what has he done? Going back to the model here, freak out or check out. He's gone to the checkout. He's checking out, man. He's finding a way to check out of this scenario at all costs. What's the easiest distraction now? When you check out, oh, Valorant, my friends are playing it. It's easier. I'm just going to go there. I'm going to leave. Check out. It's easier. League is hard. It's a stressful, like solo queue is stressful. Like there's no way around it. It's so stressful.
We use the word embrace the chaotic nature of solo queue. That's talking about the challenge of embracing the chaotic nature, because I think a lot of the stress, the anxiety people have is the unknown of what's going to happen in the game, what the teammates are going to do. And if you embrace it, there's chaos. Think about that word, embrace the chaotic nature. You're accepting there's chaos and you're going to embrace it.
And to even level up on that, if we even level up that statement, you could say, how could I thrive in the chaos? That's what we tried to do in Die Wars, right? We tried to make the game messy, but then get comfortable and thrive in that chaotic game where there's kills left, right, and center. People are blowing flashes. Yep. People are heavy trading. Yep. People are getting dove. Mm. Thrive in that environment. Have fun with it. And I think with Steven here, and I'm calling him out, he's checking out, man. And so if you find yourself I'm not going to say, I don't want to sit here and say everyone needs to forever play League and never play another game. But I think in this case specifically with Steven, given that he is quite disciplined and he's looking for, he doesn't seem like the type of guy that, he's only not enjoying it because, again, he's just, finding a way to check out. That's at least my interpretation.
Well, stress, she also talks about, is a great sort of navigation to things you care about as well. So, if he's really, getting stressed about his solo queue climb stuff, that means he really cares about the game. And that's why people get so upset when they lose and they get so stressed with ranked anxiety and stuff, because they care. They do that. You care about wins and losses. You do care about
You're only going to get stressed about something that you care about.
Yeah. Right? Does he get stressed playing Valorant? No, because it sounds like maybe he doesn't really care about it.
Doesn't really care.
Yeah.
Now, tying back to, how we're talking about what a mindset is and how it's kind of like the baseline belief, right? You mentioned before, Nathan, that the public narrative, the health narrative around stress was that stress is bad, right? So if you actually think about what happened in our mind in that scenario, if the entire narrative is stress equals bad, okay, let's now say we're in a stressful situation. In this stressful situation, what's our default response going to be? Our default response, we're just going to default to whatever our previously held beliefs are. So this is the scary thing, Nathan, when you're kind of going through life, and especially in solo queue, if you kind of just go with the flow, you're actually largely going to be unaware of what your baseline beliefs are to everything.
Yep.
And we talk about just reflecting on your solo queue blocks and reflecting on listening to your emotions as well. I talk a lot about this in my Midland Academy. When something happens in a game or a block, you need to reflect on what is causing that uncomfortability, what is causing that stress, what is causing that frustration. Once you pinpoint it, a lot of the time it can lead you down a rabbit hole that will allow you to face and come to terms with what your currently held baseline belief is. For a lot of people who haven't listened to the BBC, when they have a situation where there's a classic, they might not even know it. So there's a classic trade sides of the map scenario. Their bot lane's getting dove. They don't actually understand the situation and say they should be diving top trading sides of the map or something. They go into the review. If their baseline belief is, oh, my bot lane's getting dove, they're just dying on repeat, you're just going to write that off. You're just going to write that game off. Like, bot lane dies, nothing to learn from it. Like, but if you dig deep, okay, this situation, I feel really uncomfortable. There's something here that I need to dig. Oh, okay, I actually have an underlying belief that maybe my bot lane dies, the game's over. Or you might find you have some crazy narrative there that needs to be addressed. So I think I kind of view as well, during your league journey, first of all, you're going to have to come to terms with what these baseline beliefs are, and then you're going to slowly build on top of them, block by block. In each of these areas, like you said, it's beliefs in specific areas. It's a mindset in specific areas. It's not just one mindset. It's mindset in every given area. You can have, 25 different mindsets for different scenarios. I love that. I think it's very important. And this is, again, another reason why you really got to reflect. Self-awareness.
Yeah, and that's talking about she viewed the mindset about the connection between the subconscious and the conscious mind, and I like that's a really good way, because the subconscious mind is so powerful. You wanna rely on your subconscious mind, because that's like a default. You don't have to think. That's so OP. It's actually overpowered.
Subconscious muscle memory is OP.
Muscle memory is overpowered, and that's what we talk about, dude. That's what our coaching is, isn't it? It's just doing the boring basic stuff in league. There's nothing sexy about what we teach, and that's always a very difficult pill to swallow for players, I feel, because I always feel in my coaching sessions they want some special thing that I'm going to tell them, and then it's something they already know, and they're like, oh, I could have figured that out myself. It's like, well, yeah, and you got to do that over and over again. That's what it gets. And the thing, and that, because no one talks about this, dude. The narrative is talent in the community. That's the public health service announcement of stress is the same as League of Legends talking about.
I actually think there's another narrative. Nathan, I think there's another narrative at play here.
Okay, what's that?
Okay, so that's one narrative.
Yeah.
The big one is that obviously the talent,
Yep.
right? The other one is that there are magic solutions. Like, they exist. The narrative is that they do exist. You got to find them.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
and that's like the cheesy pick to like abuse
right.
1,000 LP or
build.
something.
The cheesy build,
Yeah.
the cheesy pick, the cheesy ward.
Go on YouTube and look at all the YouTube content. What do people click on? Watch this secret new build. Those things have hundreds of thousands of views.
Everything you need to know about getting Challenger in one in 10-minute video.
10-minute video.
I think that.
Yeah.
But that's no fault. It's not even the problem of the viewer, of like the average player. Like, how can they not think like that? Like, if they're seeing this from the people that are high elo making this content, or the quote unquote experts.
Well, yeah, going on here. I mean,
that's
that's
the social influence.
Our mindsets are influenced by people who are influential,
literally
challenger
influences. Like, how can you not think like that? Like, that is the way. That's the baseline. Again, that's going to create the baseline narrative there.
And culture media, and that's talking about, and this is going back to how your parents would have talked about video games. The stigma of video games is very negative in general.
Nathan, this leads me into something else that I've been noticing in my coaching sessions. Okay, so when we first started coaching, Nathan, we would sometimes, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nathan, we would have these reviews where you have this review with someone and you look at it and it's a very messy game, and sometimes you walk away from it and there's just not much learning. And like, you, as a coach, and especially if someone's paid money for that session, you feel as though like you want to give them some really great pragmatic advice. Because, and this is why, again, at the time I felt really confused. I'm like, when I'm doing these 1 hour sessions, something's not working here. Like, it didn't make sense to me. But what I didn't realize at the time is that sometimes the best thing you can say is that, okay, this is the way you should view this situation. We'll talk about your mindset in the game, and I'll go into a second what else I cover here. But like, sometimes there isn't just like a pragmatic one beautiful little learning objective. Like that just sometimes that just isn't the case. That's why you got to do bulk reviews. That's why we structured the Salt in the MLA.
That's why they're structured the way it is.
In the way that you got to do constant reviews. Every 3 weeks.
You have to learn how to review yourself. It's not like
we can't be there for every game.
That's right, and you can't rely on.
So we're not. When I think of what we do, we're coaching, but we're also equipping you with the tools to be able to.
That's what I view. That's what I'm doing. Equipping you the tools to figure it out yourself.
And I've been having a lot of these reviews recently, and this is a really big one. I get people that come in and they say, Curtis, I've been dying all the time. I've been dying a lot. So when I come into that session, I don't really care about this game we're looking at. All I'm thinking about is, what can I take away from this one game that I think I'm actually looking for their mindset in this game. I'm actually looking for the way they're thinking about this game and how we can take learnings from this game that will apply to his process for the next 2 weeks upon every game. And a common one, we're talking about muscle memory, talking about intuition, we're talking about developing game sense. A common one that I think you and I both take for granted is we think about what the enemy wants to do.
Yeah, that's 90% of the way I play the game.
That's exactly. So when we play, right, we talk a lot about champ mastery and knowing what you want to do. That's important. You definitely got to know
That's step one.
That's step one.
When you get to challenger games, it's all about predicting what the enemy's going to do.
Right. Well, the foundation for a lot of it is knowing what you want to do, right? So that's the baseline. But now you also got to think about what does the enemy want to do as well. And I think for a lot of players, they're getting so in their head. What I've noticed is they're getting so in their head because they're not, when they go into the review, I said, and this is what I actually do. I say, tell me how you review this. When you did this review, how did you review this death?
Great question. Yeah. And
they walk me through it, and I say, "Oh yeah, I just thought that I should be warding and leaning." No, warding and leaning is the solution to that comes way later. What you should be saying to yourself here is, why did I why did I die here? Like from their perspective, like what did they want to do? Like how could I have? What do I need to know about their champion that would have given me a sign that I could die here? And when you switch when you switch your reference point to, it's not just about me, it's about them and what they want, because your game plan ultimately should be what you want and what they want, and then you create something in between. And I think that then like my learning then in that review is it's nothing to do with this game at all. The learning is, okay, in your next reviews, all I want you to do is think about what the enemy wants to do in the post-game review. Think about what that champ wants to do. What does Fizz want to do in this game on the enemy team? What does that TF want to do? Once you think like that, it's going to be so clear what you need to do in the game, isn't it? Like,
do the review from their perspective.
Yeah.
So literally load up the client, press the vision for their team so then they can't see you, and then just see the way they're playing the game, what information they have.
Yeah, but like even the thought process of thinking it through their lens is so powerful. That broadens your understanding of the game.
It does.
Big time. Like really, really big time. I view it in many ways like an analogy from like a lifting weights perspective. We talk about like you lift your weight, you say you're doing your bench press, and then on the way down you make like, it's not just the I don't know what the technical term is. It's not just like the push. It's like also on the way down you got to hold it. I don't know what that word is. It's like a word for it. Yeah. But anyway, you know what I mean? There's two parts. There's there's what you do, and then there's the letting it come down. You can't just let it come down and create no tension, because then you're actually missing. I mean, that's where a lot of your strength is actually gained on the down part of the exercise.
You like push.
You don't just push it and let go. Right, it's
Yeah.
two parts in a way. There's two parts to the exercise. That's what in league I view as two parts. It's what you want and it's what they want.
What they want, yeah.
And another finding as well, Nathan, what I've noticed is that in my coaching, I've started to get even granular in terms of learning objectives, in terms of what they should do in game and what they do after game. And I've noticed a lot of players, especially around high plat, low diamond, they actually don't even need a learning objective in game. What they need is they need to have a learning objective in the post game review only. So
Okay.
if
So they give them something to be looking for in their reviews.
Yeah, that's it. Because what I've noticed is that a lot of people struggle to develop game sense and muscle memory and intuition. And this is, I think, with the problem with like a lot of people. You say you have a client that just makes really stupid, like questionable errors that you would think are no-brainers. If that's the case, a lot of the time it's not mechanical execution. It's not them using their lull states. It could be them in their lull state usage and win concepts and whatever. But a lot of the time, what I've noticed is that there's something that they're not they're not able to piece together in the game, and the only way they're going to be able to understand these things is in the post-game review.
Okay.
So yeah, I found that interesting.
That's interesting, yeah.
And the reason I'm bringing this up is that I think, I don't know why the hell this came up, but yeah, I just think that there isn't going to be a sexy one-line learning objective that solves all your problems. Yeah, that's where we're going to tie in from. It's like there's no one-stop shop solution. This is now one thing you got to work on for the next 3 weeks, and then let's see where that gets you. Like, I don't even know where it will get a lot of people. You know?
People get worried when I say you got to do this for like months. They're like, "Whoa, wait, whoa!" That's like the people get that they freak out, and I just say it so casually. It's like, yeah, we have to work on this for about 4 months.
Yeah. I mean, it can be tough because people don't want to hear that.
Yeah,
you don't want to hear that.
And again, the mindset narrative. I feel like, again, if you were to say that in terms of like jiu-jitsu or like some traditional sport, people would be way more open to it. But apparently video games,
it's just easy.
It's just easy. It's meant to be
so
easy.
Yeah. It's easy to get diamond, you know?
It's
easy
like,
to get master.
It's like, imagine if I say, Curtis, you need to be doing, if you just do this with your bench press, you'll be doing 100 kilos in like 2 weeks, It's just not how it works.
No. I mean, it's a given that it's going to take like 8 to 12, 24 months. Like that's just the standard,
I mean, my video with Ishan, my recent video on my Soul 2 channel, 3 months ago. I haven't posted a video for 3 months. That's going gold to mastering in 1 year, and that is incredibly quick.
Oh,
right?
That's rare.
That's unbelievable.
That breaks my narrative. I don't think I thought it was only possible to get to like maybe low diamond. I didn't think it would be possible to go from gold to master in mid lane.
So, wrapping up what the podcast, what she was talking about, learning and teaching these mindsets. And she said a really important clarification. So, obviously, Curtis and I, we have a view of the game and talk about the process. And that's because that gets results for us and for the students. But, when you, think about your beliefs and your mindset towards it, there's not, a right or wrong. That's very important to clarify. It's not like we're shoving shit down your throat, You need to look at results.
It can sound like that, though.
It can sound like that, yeah, right? And we do encourage.
We kind of are.
We encourage. We definitely aggressively encourage.
We aggressively encourage.
And she talks about 3 steps here. So how do we consciously and deliberately change our mindset? So the first step, really simple. First, we need to believe that we have them, right? So our mindset towards... a certain aspect of the game, outside of the game, your mindset towards food, fitness. And then the second step is, okay, so how does this mindset, how does it make me feel? And what results am I getting from this mindset, right? Let's say most extreme example. Let's say you had, we have clients, they've been, say, gold or platinum for 6 years.
Yep.
They need to break down, they've got a mindset problem there.
Yeah.
Because it hasn't got results, has it? Whatever their mindsets are around certain things, it just hasn't got results, right?
Yep.
But let's say we have a challenger player, come in. Let's say who has done the 10 games and sort of a lot what we don't do, that doesn't review their games and stuff. Well, that's worked for them. That's great, And then you'll be more lenient towards that. And they shouldn't change it completely to us. They should be so maybe take some things. Maybe they want us to look at some games more objectively here, get our thoughts. But that person by no means should just suddenly just change everything and go to the 3-block process, right? Because that's the person's got results with their mindsets and beliefs.
Their way.
Right? There's an argument for how do you get to the next level, and that's when we think discipline and
But we wouldn't explode the whole thing though.
No,
you would increment it very slowly.
That's right. And then again, you would experiment. Things, does it work? Does it not work?
Yeah.
And she talks about a great way of think of yourself as a scientist in terms of these beliefs and mindsets. It keeps adjusting it, and what you're looking for are very adaptive mindsets. Not fixed mindsets. This is the way of you. It's let's say, what would be an example of an adaptive mindset in the game? It's
well, I think that a good one would be around win cons, right? How your win con, you could be obsessed about a win con, but then it can just change.
That's good. That's
straight away.
Yeah, that's a perfect one. Yeah, you're very adaptable. For your I guess the belief, the mindset is your win con can change at any moment.
That's the mindset.
That's the mindset, right?
Or I think even as well, a big one when it comes to changing mindsets, right? I had my mindset around Corky was that he's fundamentally just terrible at solo queue, but I had to change that mindset because of, I mean, him being strong. Like, he just is strong, right? Like, I had to change it. Like, and I think I was in a way delusional about the strength of Corky purely because of my mindset, but you know, you just got to kind of change. You got to change your mindset about it.
It wasn't working for you,
No.
so you wanted to alter it.
Yeah.
It wasn't getting the results.
Yeah, you just got to look at the results, yeah.
The question you're asking is this mindset helpful or harmful? So that's the question. That's the last final question. And she says, treat yourself like a scientist, see what's serving you, seeing what is not. And that's really important. You know, like, you know, if you have a way that's just serving you perfectly, great. Keep those mindsets. But if you don't, that's maybe something you should start shifting.
And I think I kind of want to tie this more to people's schedule and their lifestyle. Like, you know, we talk about what works for us in terms of our process. Like, we like to, you know, do a certain, we wake up and we like to kind of do our whatever warm-up routine it is, or no warm-up routine, whatever. We like to do a certain workout at the gym. Like, we have our certain way, but that's not for everyone. Some people like waking up later. They like doing their workout at night. They like there is no, you got to find what works for you. And as long as you believe that it works.
That's right. That's the key. That's the mindset.
That's the key thing.
So if you're like, I'm a nocturnal, I do my best work at night, that's your mindset.
That's your mindset. That's your belief. And as long as it works,
my
it works.
mindset is I'm finished, dude. I'm tired and I want to sleep at like 10 o'clock because I don't want to wake up early.
Right. Yeah.
Because I do my best work. I get more done in the day if I wake up early. That's my mindset belief.
Even though it might not be the case,
No.
as long as you believe that, that's the most important thing.
That's right.
And that's what we mean by, you know, we throw around the term delusional, and how can sometimes being delusional can actually, you want to delude yourself sometimes.
Yeah.
That's actually, in a way, what
Mindset,
we mean.
yeah.
It's what we mean.
Yeah.
It's you want to trick yourself or blindly believe that you can do it, or it is good even though there's no science to back that. Right? Like, you have an intuition that works for you, and it might, but again, you can't prove a lot of this stuff. Right? It's all just up in here. It's all in your mind, which is fascinating.
Let me quickly change the camera and then we'll come back.
Okay.
I want to share one of the mindsets that I had, and I've talked about this on the podcast before. Maybe I still got it to an element, but you know, everyone knows on the podcast, I'm really critical of like game ending review mistakes, right? Like, if I make one mistake, end of review, right? That's where the end of review, that's where it originated, right? I came up with that.
Yep.
Very naturally. And my mindset was, and I had to change this, was if I make a game, if I make one mistake, I deserve to lose the game. So I'll self-sabotage myself to make sure that I'm holding that narrative, right? And I could easily have won a lot of those games if I just didn't just keep done plays because I was just weak because I've made a mistake. Just keep forcing plays, then I would have won a lot of those games. And that was a huge mindset. And you know, like, I felt that mindset was really powerful, but it wasn't as well, you know, like, that's taking massive full responsibility, but
yeah.
But then
it's a
also
double-edged
it's a
sword
double-edged
mindset.
sword mindset, right? So
Yeah.
I had to chip away at that mindset.
Because you might have an intuition that there was benefits to it, but it wasn't perfect. Like,
No.
I think a lot of people out there have some mindsets that are like, they're nearly there. Because I think that mindset was close. It's just not perfect. Like, it needed a bit more alteration. Because you definitely want to, you know, have the mentality that I don't want to make a mistake and that I want to take full responsibility for my games. But I still want to play to win. And just because I make one mistake doesn't mean the game is over, because
That's right.
everyone makes mistakes.
Exactly right. And then that's what I had to add on.
Yeah,
to
to add that on, yeah.
That's more adaptive, isn't it?
It's an adaptive,
That's an
yeah.
adaptive
It's an
mindset.
adaptive mindset, yeah.
I tell you, one as well I want to get into, what are people's mindsets around reviewing, by the way?
In what way?
Like, when people start reviewing, because I know a lot of people don't review their games.
Yep.
You know?
It's a common one.
And even though they listen to the Broken My Concept, because it's hard to see the benefits straight away, and people get overwhelmed by what they get stressed potentially from looking at the games because they get overwhelmed with the information. And again, that's going back to, they should be embracing that and just trying to work things out over time. Yeah, like, do you have any like mindsets you think people have around reviews that are negative mindsets?
Well, okay, let's talk with your mindset.
Okay.
What's your mindset in review?
In
Getting into
reviews.
review. What's your mindset like?
I'm looking for trends.
Yep.
I am obviously looking for the end of review mistake. Like, when the game's like out of my control.
Okay.
And I am Yeah, just making sure the fundamentals are polished up.
I would actually say my mindset
What's
really
your
depends
mindset?
on my emotional state.
Really?
Like I'm calling myself out here. But I would say the past week and a half, 2 weeks, I've had a bad mindset.
Yeah.
And Niall exposed me.
Yep.
We had the accountability sheet, and one of my solo queue contract is I will stop my block if I'm not in the right mental state. And I've been permanently not in the right mental state, really. And Niall's kind of called me out. Like he prevented me from doing a 4-game block one day. Niall's really been my savior, honestly. And I had a really rough solo queue experience the last 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, but that shouldn't. But what's the subconscious though? Because 2 weeks doesn't ruin all the subconscious.
No, I'm saying
You've had.
it influenced my emotional state, which
Okay.
influenced my
Reviews.
my
Okay, so you-
mindset, I think.
Okay, so I guess you don't have like a mindset where.
Like I'd say my mindset is so adaptable. It really depends on what my emotional state's like, which is probably not good.
Interesting.
Like, usually if I'm coherent and I'm in a good spot, which I am, I'm back in a good spot now. Like mentally, like I kind of got my shit together. It's something along the lines of there's always room for optimization. That's like my first mindset.
That's your
there's
first one.
something
Okay.
that I
Yep.
could be doing better.
Yep.
Let's just find what that is.
Yep.
That's like the underlying mindset. Like
Yep.
I'm imperfect. There's room for improvement.
Love it.
That's the first underlying thing.
Yep.
I would also say, even if I did something well, there's probably an alternative. That's another mindset I guess I have. There's always probably something I could have done better, even though it worked, because maybe it wasn't replicable. And another mindset I guess is, how do I be the most? How could I have been the most impactful player? Like, what's the most impactful player? I'm always looking to, like, I like that word impact. Like, because there's a Kobe Bryant quote that really inspired me in an interview. Said, "What would make me the hardest to deal with?" And that's like a big way I think about in the game of League. It's not really about if I win. It's more about what would have been the hardest to deal with. Like a lot of the time I've been winning recently, I haven't been happy because I just feel low impact. Like I won, but I'm like, ugh, this is just, even if
Yeah.
it looks good, it
Yeah.
feels bad.
Yeah.
I don't feel like there's a feeling in a game, right? When you're playing at a high-elo game, right? Say Master Plus, there's a feeling you get when you were the one that contributed massively to the win, and there's a feeling you get when you don't really feel like you contributed much at all. And I'm always trying to find a way to replicate the games where I'm high impact. Like they're the ones I love. Even if I make mistakes in those games, if I felt high impact and my deaths were high impact and my everything about the way I played the game was high impact, then I'm happy. Like I feel content. I feel like that's something I really want to push towards, you know? And that also ties into like the way I play a lot of my champs. Like I like to play even my control mages in a fast-paced way that's high impact. Even though I could play slow and scaling, I just hate it. And one thing I realized this past 2 weeks, I defaulted to a slower style and it screwed me up.
Got it.
It screwed me
That
up.
was that Victor game that we played that you
there's
were
Victor
uncomfortable
games
with.
where like I hate playing like that. Like even if it can work, it's just not my style. Like I never play Victor this scaling slow way, and I did it like a few games. And it really affected my confidence. So I'm like, what am I doing? This is not me. This is not how I play League. And yeah, that's just like my mentality. Usually, it's how can I be high impact? So I'd say they're my core 3 or 4 mindsets. In the MLA, when it comes to reviews, I think a big one is there was not much to take away from the game. I think that's a mindset that people come in. It's like, what? I guess their first mindset is, all this other bullshit happened in the game, therefore I can't learn much, maybe. I think that's kind of one that you do get with people. Like, there's all this shit that happened that was out of my control, therefore I can't take much away from the game. I guess that's a mindset.
The biggest question I want
I don't know.
people...
It's hard to say.
And what she talks about is like, just think about trying to have an answer to these. Like, I won't even give you really answer. I just wanted just your thoughts there, but just ask yourself the question: what's your mindset towards reviews? Again, like, what's your mindset towards certain aspects? What's your mindset towards dying? You know, we talk about there's levels of like hating that death and like going into like that death versus it's just a death.
Yeah.
Like, what's your mindset towards certain aspects of the game? And if you actually think about this, it's, you know, you can start to like break down your game. I believe.
You know, to wrap this up, Nathan, before we go on to Mailbag, one of the big themes of the BBC that I really want to continue to push, Nathan, is just the importance of being adaptable, like having an adaptable mindset.
Absolutely.
I think we live in a day and age right now where you got to be adaptable. Like, you got to be so comfortable with change and like having success then failure and then having to change that and what works, what doesn't work. You got to be ready to change. And
when we live in a fast moving world, Jono would always tell, and that's why Jonathan Brown, the podcast we did with him, a bit of a boomer.
Yeah.
He loved League of Legends, even though he never saw it, because he was just like, this replicates real life so well.
Fast move, the patches,
fast
adapting
patches, every patch, bam,
season.
bam, bam, bam. It's no longer the time where you sit with your company for 40 years. That's just gone.
That's
those
gone.
times.
You're going to get
3
moved
years,
on.
next job. What's the thing? What's the next freelance work? What's the next project? Bam.
You're always having to adapt. I think that's a really powerful
COVID
message.
pops up. Dude.
COVID comes out of nowhere. You have to change your entire lifestyle. And, there was a Timothy in the MLA. He said to me, Curtis, I'm really thankful for the MLA because I came back from work and one of my colleagues, he said, a 40-year-old dude said, yeah, I should probably do that, but I'm too old. I can't change. That's terrifying.
It's a fixed mindset.
I mean, that if you you hear that statement,
that's the belief. That's his mindset.
like, oh, I just can't change. It's not me.
Yeah.
Jeez, and get the hell out of there, Like, that's, you got to be, I mean, not saying quit your job, but like, he's aware that is dangerous, and he's like, we've helped him become more aware of how dangerous that can be, and now he's thinking, I'm so thankful to be around people that are trying to grow and improve and have this adaptable mentality, change, be comfortable with change, and that's what it's all about. So that's what it's all about.
All right, we ready for some mailbag questions?
Let's get it.
Let's bring out the sack, and away we go. Welcome back for Nathan's mailbag. Jingle, jingle, jingle song. All right, our first question here comes from Caitlyn. The title of this email is Beginning My League Journey, Helping My Boyfriend Improve His Relationship with the Game. We talk a lot about having a healthy relationship with the game, so this is a very, a very relatable question. Hi, Nathan and Curtis. Thank you for the Broken by Concept podcast. I found your content a few months ago and I've been listening ever since. I hope it's okay that I asked two different questions in this email. To provide some context, I just recently started playing League of Legends around April of last year. League is my first MOBA as well as my first ever PC game.
Wow.
That's going to be a tough journey, isn't it? That's rough.
It's rough.
I initially began playing as I wanted to learn more about something my boyfriend enjoys. My boyfriend has been playing League from about Season 3 and has stuck with it ever since, so he's a veteran of the game. As I've been learning the game, it's now become something that I play for myself and not my relationship. So she originally went in playing it, because she wanted to see what more interests, and then now she's just loving the game.
She's hooked.
As a lot of people get into. I'm 25 years old and work as a social worker in NA. I really enjoy having something that I can work towards that is not tied to my career as it feels good to improve at something that is in my control. On the other hand, I can't help but feel like I have a significant disadvantage against the players that have been playing League for years. I ended last season in Iron 3. I know it's embarrassing and have been struggling in ranked ever since I started. That's literally would be expected.
Yep, that's completely normal.
Yeah. I have tried to find resources to help me learn what I should do to climb out of this ELO. However, many of the videos I've watched have not been helpful and will often degrade Iron players or say things like, just get good forehead. I now realize I probably jumped into rank too quickly and did so because my boyfriend and his friends encouraged me to play rank so that I could learn the game at my level. God, you played normals bots for a year, right?
I played bots for about a year.
Maybe you got to do the Curtis tactic.
The normals bots.
Yeah. Geez, yeah. I mean, maybe jumping into ranked.
No, it doesn't make sense. It never made sense to me.
Yeah, until you know.
There's no point. Why are you trying to compete when you don't even know how to play your champ? Like, ranked is a competitive environment. Yeah. Like, just play normals. Like, why do the added stress?
Yeah, I think that not. Well, Curtis, you're saying stress now. Stress is good. Maybe that forces.
Well, it's added stress. It's already going to be stressful.
That's right. That's correct.
League is stressful no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe go back to normal games for another whole season. You know, maybe that's some advice there.
Okay, we'll finish it off first,
Yeah.
and we'll see.
Where am I? So I realize I probably jumped into rank too quickly and did so because my boyfriend's encouraged me to learn the game at that level. I have definitely improved since I started, as now I no longer die over and over and have started to learn how to impact the game more. Now, the issue is that I'm not sure where to go from here, as I often become discouraged by my MMR and occasionally get overwhelmed by the chaos of the game. So far this season, I've been able to get myself to Iron 1 by winning the majority of my games, 10-13, LP a win, and losing 23 LP a loss. I know it's pain. Mid is my primary role and bot is my secondary. I mostly play Ari and Lux. However, I also play Seraphine and Vex on occasion. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten flamed as a girl playing the E-Girl champions. My main question is, what should someone at my level of play be focusing on to improve? Would it even be possible for someone new to League PC gaming like me to one day get to silver or gold? So we'll answer that first. That's her first question.
Well, I have a video. That talks about for bronze and silver players. Even though she's iron, it would still apply.
Yep.
On my channel.
Check it out.
That will.
What's the TLDW, Curtis?
I actually can't remember.
You can't remember.
I can't remember, but I do know that it was something about, you know, how you just should. It's just champ mastery, not overcomplicate. Like playing the losers game, just real basics. Like not even reviewing. Like
no, you don't review.
Don't review, just play. Like you need. Like I've actually had a lot
reps.
I had a lot of criticism. I had a comment actually on that video recently. Like, sometimes I read some comments I get as notifications, and one of them just like straight out abused me, saying this is so disrespectful and you're just basically saying that we're trash. Like I never said that whatsoever. All I said was that, well, you're really, you know,
we're in the hyper learn stage and you want reps.
Yeah. Like view yourself as a toddler. You kind of just do. Like when you're a toddler, you don't need to review anything.
You don't need to study. You don't go to school and get a degree.
Learn. Like you just naturally learn just by just putting yourself in uncomfortable situations.
And talk and
just feel. Like what I would. This is the way, Caitlyn, you got to view it. League is, again, I've said this many times, but League is 70% feel and 30% like prefrontal cortex type logical thinking. What you want to do is you really want to get the feel stuff done first. Focus on just developing a feel for the game, feeling damage, feeling what happens, how the champions work, how the kits interact, ranges, and getting comfortable with casting abilities, like just the feel of the game. That's all you really want to be focused on, and have fun. Fun is the most important thing. Fun. Play champs you enjoy. Don't think about your rank or anything like that. That's why I don't even think rank is important at all. Like you should be playing normal games. That's why you should have played a lot of bot games as well. But bot games, normal games, are probably too late for bots now, but you could definitely get value from normal games. And it's not like you're playing without intensity. You're still playing to try. Like you're still trying to win. Like I try hard at norms. Like
yeah, me too.
Like I tried to really win. And you know, I tried in my bot game so hard that I would do this cheese thing level 1 and gain aggro of the bots as they walk into lane and always get first blood.
That's awesome.
Like I try hard at bot games, without exaggeration.
That's awesome.
But that taught me things because I resonate with Caitlyn in the sense that it was my first MOBA. Like I had no one to teach me in MOBA.
No, you did it all on your own.
I did it all on my own. Like no one was with me, and there was no content. In season 1, so all I did was just play, and I'm like, "What? Figure this out. Just figure it out." So but in a way, I think it helped me a lot, and I think it would help Caitlyn. Like, sure, you can watch my video on my channel, and I think it will give you a good guideline, But I think that what you'll get hopefully from that video is that you really want to keep it as simple as possible and just play for fun, really. As simple as poor advice that may seem, it really is important. And what you'll find, and this is the most important thing, you want to make sure that you're creating your own hypotheses about everything. So the dangerous thing about okay, how do I frame it? If you were to watch a lot of videos or a lot of content on climbing as, let's say you're playing Lux, and you watch all this content, you watch all these videos, you do all this stuff, what's going to happen is that you're actually not starting from any, like there's no initial baseline that you've created yourself to build from. You're actually starting with someone else's foundation. So I believe that the best way to learn is you go in there, you have a crack, you create your own foundation first with pure feel, pure intuition, what works for you, what hasn't worked for you. Then once you're starting to feel a little bit confused or like you've
then
done
get
that,
other people's views on
yeah,
the
then you get
champion,
other people's
yeah.
views later on,
Yeah.
like because otherwise you're just gonna automatically agree with whoever it
That's
is you
right,
watch.
yeah.
Like imagine if it's like when you watch a podcast about someone has like like say you've never heard someone's opinion on terrorism and you listen to this person be really, really, anti-terrorism and you're never hearing the other side of it. You're never hearing
You're like, oh, that makes sense. That's great. Yeah,
Right.
that's great. Yeah, cool.
I know this is
Yeah.
a terrible take because terrorism is pretty one-sided, but
that's the worst analogy, dude. How about something else? How about something like
I don't know where that came from.
let's say some sport, like let's say
stuck here.
badminton, right? You listen to a badminton podcast. You've never
Badminton.
played badminton in your life.
Okay, that's better. That's more
Is that
family
better?
friendly. Yeah.
Family friendly. And yeah, so you go in and you know nothing about badminton, and they're talking about all this.
Okay,
badminton
actually,
stuff,
this is
isn't it?
dead serious, dead sad.
Yeah.
I actually play badminton, right? I played it on the weekend,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
For fun,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it wouldn't matter how many videos I watch, right? Because you just got to feel
Yeah.
how the hell it works.
Yeah.
Like sure, I could get some little tips on how to hold the racket better, and shit, but like if you have no hand-eye coordination, it doesn't mean jack shit.
Yeah.
So like you just got to do it.
Yeah.
So don't calm down on the rank. Focus on champ mastery. Playing too many champs. Play two champions.
Yeah.
Champs that you love. Doesn't matter if it's Lux, Seraphine, Vex, whatever. Play them. Play around, whatever, and have some fun. And look at that video. And you can easily get to gold. There's no question of that.
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
It's just going to take some time. Maybe like 2 years, you reckon?
I don't even want to put a timer on it. I
Yeah.
honestly just be really curious and
Yeah.
open-minded. You could even do it in 6 months. Who knows?
Okay.
Like she could be just click with certain things. Like I've seen some remarkable climbs. It's so hard to say. I don't want to limit her by saying, "Oh, it's going to take 2 months."
yes,
Just
yeah.
keep an open mind.
I
When it
agree.
comes, it comes.
Adaptable mindset. My second question is related to my boyfriend and his relationship with League. Over the last few years, he has become increasingly frustrated at the game. This game that used to make him happy now makes him feel tilted and depressed after playing. Whether those feelings are due to a loss or disappointment with his own gameplay. My boyfriend is a Katarina one-trick with almost 800,000 mastery points. He usually places in gold, but does not play much ranked after his placements due to becoming easily tilted. He has also been struggling as League is something all of his friends have in common, but his extreme tilt at the game has caused him to feel slightly more isolated. I think this issue started to escalate once I started to play consistently as well. This isn't due to him being a shithead, but rather loneliness caused him not getting enjoyment out of something both myself and his friends love to play. My boyfriend has ADHD, but does not believe that his ADHD is related to his problems with League. Is there anything I could do to help my boyfriend form a better relationship with the game? I love my boyfriend very much, and it breaks my heart to see him so saddened by something that he used to love so much.
It's a tough one.
That is a tough one.
Or, look, I don't want to say that his ADHD is, but it
From our experience, that League
nearly always does.
League is the perfect environment to trigger off ADHD.
Or ADHD definitely doesn't help,
Yeah.
is what I'm saying. What
Well,
we've
I mean, watch
noticed.
our episode on the ADHD.
We have an episode on ADHD that
Just type
is-
in broken my concept ADHD.
It would be worth listening to for Caitlyn, maybe to get a little bit of context
Understand
of
it,
her
yeah.
of his behaviors.
Mm.
I mean, again, we're probably gonna have to make a few assumptions here about her boyfriend Nathan, and I don't want to offend him if he listens to this, but I'm assuming he's like a grinder. By the sounds of things, like he's a Katarina one trick. He's got 800,000 mastery. I don't know how many games that equates.
I don't
to.
even know what that means.
I don't really know what that means either. But,
Yeah.
but it sounds like a lot. It's a big number, right?
Yeah.
But I'm assuming that he's played a lot of games over the years. Like he said, played from season 3. He's an old school player. He subscribed to the narrative that, back in the day, I mean, when we played then, no one reviewed, right?
No.
There was no process. Like
There wasn't such thing as improvement. It's just you're good or you're
you
bad.
just play.
Yeah.
And it's like some people rise to
Play.
the top, some people fail.
That's right. That's
Simple-
all it
simple
was.
as that.
You play the game, you're just gonna end up where you end up.
It says luck.
That's what it was.
Apparently,
Yeah.
luck of the draw.
Yeah.
But we now got a little bit better understanding of the game, so you can learn. But even though it sounds really basic, he probably doesn't genuinely believe he could get better, and he doesn't know how to get better.
He'll be so stuck in his ways as well, playing for that long. Yeah,
yeah. So usually, okay, I've worked with a lot of Katarina one tricks.
Yep.
They're characterized by the following.
Okay, here we go.
They're incredibly intuitive players. They rely basically all on feel and intuition with the game. Yep. And especially old school players. So he's actually the combo. He's the combo deal. He's the Katarina one trick who are very usually intuitive type players like to play. Plus he's an old school player. So you're always ever going to be an intuitive player because there is no such thing as a very thoughtful, I guess, logical type player who has played that long. Because it's just the way you trained back then. So he's the double whammy. He's the overly intuitive feel-oriented player. He's maxed feel to the nth degree. So I guarantee you when he plays, he doesn't think about how he wants to play his matchup. He doesn't think about win conditions. He doesn't think about why he dies. His fundamentals in warding and leaning probably non-existent. He probably has very poor fundamentals. But the thing is with him is that when I could basically guarantee that he doesn't review, and even if he did review, he would skim over it and he wouldn't take responsibility for those mistakes. There would be so much to unpack there. So step number one for him, I would say, is he's got to start to really think about why, even though it sounds really basic, but why things happen. So say he dies, right? Let's say he goes into a fight and he dies and they lose the team fight. His initial response is going to be, my team sucks, they messed up somehow. When it needs to be, why did this go wrong? Just be curious. Like he's probably missing the entire curiosity aspect, which is incredibly tilt inducing. And where most tilt comes from, Caitlyn, in my experience and with a lot of clients, is not because they are genuinely confused. It's not because they are bad or make the mistake. It's actually because they don't know how to get better and they don't know what went wrong. The most frustrating thing in any endeavor, if you do something so much and you're still not getting better and you don't know how to get better,
you think it's out of your control.
Well, you're inevitably going to think it's out of your control if you've done something so much and you still haven't got better. So he needs to really create a process really to get better. He needs to learn how to learn, essentially. So step number one, look at the review, come in as if you're a scientist, you make a play, that's your initial experiment, and just look back and observe what the hell happens and why. Now, always assume that when you're doing this, that you're wrong, right? Assume that you've done something wrong.
You haven't got the results. And again, going back to the mindsets, mindset about certain aspects of the game.
Well, he has got no results to show for his work. So obviously he's doing something wrong, right? You can't delude yourself here. So if you get into it, right, and you just don't overcomplicate it, go to his deaths. Just go to your deaths.
That's what we start with.
Why are you dying? Well, you're jumping in when your jungler's gank. You're trying to solo kill mid when your jungler's ganking top. Or you're jumping in when you have no vision on the enemy Nocturne who's level 6. You're jumping in when the enemy support's missing. Or you're diving into a team fight when no one can follow up and they've got all their CC available. You're dying because your wave's in the most terrible state. Whatever it might be, you just got to again, look at it and observe. Once you start to make sense of things, you have some semblance of what the hell's going on. You can now start to piece things together and create a little bit of a plan or maybe focus on some certain elements. That is all he needs to do, really. Would you have anything to add on to that, Nathan?
My initial reaction is thinking bigger picture. Why he should question why he plays the game. Why does he love the game? Sit down and write these things down. Obviously the friendship group and stuff. It sounds like I think he does love the game still. If he used to love the game, he probably loves the game. Especially he's been playing that long.
He could also just be addicted, dude. He's got ADHD because ADHD.
That's true.
And I've actually noticed that people with ADHD are more inclined to play champions like Katarina because they're more dopamine inducing.
That's right.
So he is likely very addicted to the game.
So then he needs to also assess whether he's addicted and maybe he needs to cut it out. But yeah, I mean, it sounds like his friendship reliant on obviously you now, Caitlyn, playing the game. So some questions to ask. And again, I reckon watching that video,
he really needs to just watch the BBC as well, man.
Yeah,
he really needs to watch the season 12 rank guide. He needs to watch the ADHD episode. And he needs to just kind of skim over a lot of these episodes.
We have an episode about why you play League.
Yeah, that's a great one. Your understanding your League journey.
Yes.
That's a great one.
Yep.
There's a lot there. Expectations, stuff about expectations. There's a lot of great stuff.
Just watch all.
Just watch the podcast. Listen to the podcast. But yeah, hopefully that gives you something to really latch onto. There's something there. Hopefully that gives you a bit of context of what he might be experiencing, Caitlyn. But ultimately, he does, need to get into the details. That's for sure.
All right, so this is a question from Stove. He used to be in the Soul 2. Mailbag. A paradigm shift in reviews. Dear BBC, Stove here, new job. You got a new job. Soul 2 member with a question regarding the nature in which we do reviews. Like many who follow the BBC, I used to review my games with my main focus being on my first few mistakes in the early mid-game. I sometimes watch pivotal moments in my games, but typically I don't even watch past the 15-minute mark. And, so I would have learned that from me. I mean, that's the way I do reviews in Soul 2 specifically as well. Now, something that I've noticed since objective bounties have been implemented is that comebacks seem to be a lot more common. Mistakes by the winning team seem to be more punished in this season than any other season before. This might not even be true since I don't have actual data to back this up, but it got me to thinking how I would change my review process to benefit from the perceived chaotic meta. To me, champion mastery is more important than it has ever been. A high mastery of your champ will lead to cleaner gameplay. Cleaner gameplay means fewer opportunities to lose winning games by giving away kills such objective bounties. Additionally, high champ mastery will allow you to find more windows back into the game when on the losing side of kill objective bounties. For the last few weeks, I've been watching full VODs of some of my closer games, with a particular focus on how I was playing my champion. I asked myself if I was playing to my champion's limits and if I was making any mechanical mistakes. I compared VODs of top players playing my champion and compared to them how I was piloting my champion. I was striving to play beautiful League of Legends. I found that focusing my reviews on improving champion mastery in this manner has been very fruitful. How do you guys at the BBC podcast feel about adding in a review process that focuses less on the end of review early game mistakes and more on holistic champion mastery improvement? Look forward to hearing from you. Love the podcast.
Do you want me to start? Or do you want to start?
You start on this one, Curtis.
Well, I think there's a few things here. I think first we need to think about where he's at, what rank. And so if you are higher ranked, like if you're Master Plus or D2 Plus, I think you do get value from doing more that's what I'll call like a holistic review, kind of just looking over key mistakes, but also just a lot of mechanical errors, looking at everything, essentially. Because by then you should have the fundamentals down pat. If you're in platinum and stuff like that, I think that you're probably missing some 10%ers there by going through everything, and you're probably overwhelming yourself in the review. What I will say here though is that I don't like that approach, but like looking at every aspect of your skirmishing and like just mechanical and I would get specific. Like I would actually go a little bit more granular.
It's like ult usage, Qs. Like,
well,
for some reason I'm thinking of Diana right now, right? I actually can't remember what Stove played, but let's say Diana, let's say you skip to the mid game and then you're looking at the way you're engaging. I think that's fine. You look at every skirmish and the way you engage with whether you have to wait.
I would approach it a different way. Yeah, I would say that ties into your role assessment. Like, did you identify your role in this comp? And we had this discussion, and I kind of got angry at you for like the way you were playing fights.
Yeah.
And the specific situation was that you were playing Zinzao. Yep. We had a really strong front to back.
Yep.
I was playing Casio. We even had a Nivea 80 carry.
Yep.
And all I want, like these two champs, the Nivea and Casio, we want the enemy to come to us. So all we got to do is sit on the dragon. It's spawned. Let them come to us. But then in that fight, you like spam ping mid.
I want a mid priority.
We want a mid prio
to get the dragon.
Right, when dragon was already spawned. But so then we then have to move to mid, but then we've lost our position, and then you engage. So then you're Zinzao going forward, and then me and Anivia are in the back thinking, well, what do we do? Like, we have to walk all the way to you engaging.
It's not your ideal situation.
So, like, I would review that, not in, like, the way you're engaging. Like, think about your role and the way your
that's important,
fights.
your role.
It's your role.
Yeah.
Think about your role in fights and the way you win the game with this composition. So that would be a way I would review the game is, like, was the way I perceived my role in this game correct? So an example for me is if I'm playing Twisted Fate, I'll look at situations like, was my role this game to make picks, or could I just play the front to back team fight with gold cards, and how did that work? And I'd get into the details and like really look at my role. You could do it your way, but look at specific ability usage. You could look at it, how did I use my ults in these fights, or how did I use my Zinzal, ult, whatever, to split the fight. But again, I think you'd get more value from thinking of it from like a role perspective rather than an ability specific, because you need a reference point to how you use your abilities. The way you use your abilities is always tied to your role in a fight.
Yeah, you
in
need
the game.
context of the role.
You need context. So that's a way to review games. I like that. But otherwise, if you're just like looking at it really like roughly and thinking, oh yeah, here I could use my E better, here I could use my W better, you're not really you got to look at why you use your abilities that way and where does that come from. Again, it ties back to your role and your win conditions. That's like a win cons and roles are a great like thing to look at in your reviews. If you want to go that route.
Yep, I would agree. I mean, it also depends on the champion you're playing, I think, as well. Like, if I'm playing Rek'Sai, like reviewing, I guess like you could do still as well have the role, but it's way more important to focus on the early game for me because that's my champion strength.
That's true.
That's where I'm going to get the biggest leads. I mean, as a jungler as well, specifically as a jungler.
As jungler, you have 10 minutes are so important.
You have you have a lot of impact. And it's not so much in terms of your impact, it's denying the enemy jungler's impact because that's going to flow on the whole flow of the game. Like, unless you're playing scaling jungle like Karthus or something, then it's like less, but even then still, I mean, me personally, I'm obsessed with the first 10, 15 minutes. If you ask me the only thing I know about League of Legends, I just know how to review the first 10, 15 minutes.
I'm actually...
As a jungler.
So I totally agree with you, Nathan, but I also want to explain the flip side here.
Yeah.
And this is going to be a bit of a jab at your process.
Yep.
And what I've seen.
Yep.
So I totally agree. I think with junglers, your first 15 minutes are so important. Like, you basically dictate the entire early game.
That's right.
Like, I had a question from a Soul2 member, by the way. For me, he asked me, like, what's more impactful, like mid or jungle? And I said, well, it's even hard to answer that question because
stages of the game.
It depends on the champ as well. But like, I think that jungle as a whole is more impactful in the early stage, and mid is more impactful later on. Like, as a premise, I would say. But anyway, we played like a few games together recently, and I just think that your mindset towards this could be detrimental in the long run. Like, there was a fight where I swear we could have won it if you played the fight better. Like, it was a mid-game fight, but you would never review like that. Like, it feels like to me you would skim over that.
I wouldn't, yeah.
Like, for example, so to give a bit of context, it was a game I was playing Casio, and we end up like, it was a really tough game, but like we stalled out the game, and I was playing Casio, and we had an Ezreal. We scaled, and we had damage. Like, we spiked to our items, and Nathan was playing Zinzal, and they had a comp that like wanted to run into us, and if they dove into us and we peeled back, I was really confident we'd win the fight. And we had this fight in the jungle where me and Ezreal peeling back, they were diving onto us. And instead of Nathan splitting the fight and like peeling, he like just dove onto the backline with the support or whatever it was. And I remember looking at the review and I'm like, sure, there's things we could have done in the first, 15 minutes here, but we could have just won this game if you peeled here. Like, if you just peeled me and Ezreal, prevented us from getting one shot, peeled with the Fury or whatever it was, we would probably win the game, to be honest. And like, I think that ties into your mentality in the game is, I'm only useful the first 15 minutes, and there's things I could have done there, and there's great learnings are really important, but I think as well, like, your skirmishing as a jungler is still really important, like, in your role assessment. And I think that you've gotten blasé with it in a way, subconsciously. I think you've gotten blasé with it.
Great. No, I mean, my perspective right now, my mindset is, I can't get challenger if I can't skirmish better right now.
Yeah. My
skirmishing's horrible. I'm probably the worst skirmisher, dude.
But I don't think your skirmishing is because you don't play enough games
as well.
Just
don't focus on it. That's
you don't focus on it.
That's right.
You don't think of it in terms of your role that much, I think. Like, so, and I've told you, I think that the way you got to look at it and be like, how does this, not just, don't look at the mechanics, stop looking at the mechanics.
Yeah.
You tunnel in on mechanics way too much. Yeah. And ability usage.
Not the role in the fight.
Yeah. Like, if you actually step back, it's not your R usage on Zizou. It's not your unburrow when you unburrow on Rek'Sai and shit.
I think that game specifically, Curtis, I can review a game. I know my role in the fight. I definitely won't focus on it that much. I mean, if I lose at skirmish, I know why I lost the skirmish. I'm not scratching my head.
No, but I think now in this meta, you're going to be in that situation a lot. Like the way the game is played out now, and it actually might be for the entirety of the year, is that there's just enchanter bot lanes with hyper carry 80 carries, and there's been a lot of team fights.
Yeah.
Like you got to get good at team fighting. Like I feel like this is actually the most team fighting meta we've had in years.
Well, currently I'm 200 LP. We'll see if I never climb higher than this. There you go. I never fixed that mindset, that mistake. So everyone can hold me accountable on the BBC podcast whether I get better at skirmish and focus on it. Not even get better at, focus on it.
And you know how to get better at it.
Yes, very easily, dude. I just have to focus on it, dude.
All right.
Curtis, there's so many mistakes I'm still making in the early game. Like my mindset is you can win games as the jungler in my play style in 15 minutes, and it's better to put my energy there.
I don't want to make this whole segment here, but I just think me and you differ on the way we approach improving those aspects.
Yeah, potentially.
Like, and I'm not saying I'm right. Like, I mean, I could be wrong, but when I look at a skirmish, I don't look at I feel like you look at micro way sooner than me. Like you look at. Like, I'm already thinking about my mindset in this fight. Like, I'm looking at how am I thinking in this fight? Like, I'm looking at, again, I'm really hyper-focusing on my role straight away and my win con assessment. Whereas I think the way you talk is like, oh, yeah, I just missed my E here or some shit. Like,
yeah, but in my mind, it's in the context of I don't have to say it.
Right.
Like, when I would say, like, I missed my E or something, it's not about that. It's about... my role, it's like I shouldn't be going in because specifically, I have a cast every Nivea, I should be playing slower. Like,
but in my mind, like, and this is the last thing I'll say, Nathan, it shouldn't even be remotely possible that you play like that.
You really think so?
Like, that's such a basic mistake.
It is. It does look basic. Yeah.
Like it's so basic.
It is.
Like,
I agree.
It's like me playing Casio and flashing into the like. It wouldn't happen. Like
it's true. It's true.
If you know your champ and you know your role, you would never do that. It's not even in the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's a red flag to me. It's like, sure, you can write this off, but
I guess the way you think about it, I've got all my chips in the early game, right?
Yeah.
And then I will look like a bronze in other aspects of the game.
Yeah.
But you're more well-rounded.
Yeah, I don't think I over-index in any area, but I think you should. I think you would have way more results if you did.
I think you're right.
I think you would have way more results if you put just a bit more focus on those mid-game fights. Like, just hold yourself to, like, fuck. It's not the mechanics. Just focus on how does your champ want to play in this comp.
Yep.
And I think you have a lot of success. Because I think you're good at that when you focus on it. Because that's where you used to focus on it. Like, remember when you played Udia? You were really good at peeling in fights.
That's right. I knew how to
that was your focus.
That's right.
You knew how to do that. Yeah. But I feel like you lost that. So, yeah. I just didn't think it should be remotely possible. But anyway.
All right, so we'll work on that. We'll report to everyone back on how that's going for me because I do agree.
Yeah.
Moving on here. So our camera's died, but we'll do one more question.
Right, yep.
Where was
podcast? We're going to get it fixed, guys. Don't worry. We've got some plans. We've got some spicy plans.
This one's from Sidney. The title of this email is it a difficult/low win rate champion going to stump my growth as a player? Hey coach, I'm currently silver 4, been playing for 5 months and play mid. I play Annie, Ziggs and Galio for the first 3 months, learning the game, but eventually got bored of them and wanted to find a high skill ceiling champ to main. For the last 2 months, I've tried every mid mage until I found Ryze. He's my favorite champion by far. I have 35,000 mastery points on him. Do you know how many mastery points you got on any champion? I have no idea.
I've never looked at mastery.
Never looked at
my entire time playing League. I've never looked at mastery points.
I don't even know how much I got on any champion. I couldn't tell you.
No.
Mastery points on him and have watched a lot of high-level players talk about and play him. So I've definitely understand his basic identity and mechanics. He's currently my highest win rate champion ranked, but this is likely just because of my improvement as a player, not because of Ryze in particular. Anyway, my question is, should I be discouraged by Ryze's extremely low win rate and every high-low player telling me to stay away from him? I want to keep playing Ryze, but not at the cost of stunting my growth as a player. Should I main Ryze and supplement with basic champs, Annie, Galio, Ziggs, or just go back to playing the basic champs exclusively until I get to a high elo at the cost of being a little bored of them?
Well, look, I've altered the way I answer this question. I used to just default like, don't play it.
Yep.
But look, if you love it, man, and that's why you get excited to play League because you're thinking of that Ryze, just do it, dude.
I agree.
It's one of the hardest champs in the game.
Yeah.
So be careful, but if you really like, you'll find a way.
That's right.
You'll find a way to make it work.
And your mindset would be so healthy towards
Yeah.
it as well. If you're like, I'm going to make this work versus
no matter what.
I'm playing these champs like because they're easier. Like I feel like that's a negative mindset in a way.
Yeah. So look, I think across the board, as long as you're coming in with the mentality that, yep, it's going to be a challenge and you're ready for that challenge and you're going to put in the time and the effort, you're going to really play with intensity and try to learn and be observant and, have a crack, then I have no problem with that, man. You're definitely not going to create bad habits with Ryze. You're only ever going to create good habits. It's a very tough champion, and you're going to have to like really you're going to get punished for poor positioning, and you're going to have to really think outside the box how you can use your R and things like that. But have a crack, man. It's not going to be easy, but have a crack. And I think worst case, what he could do, right? He could just give it a few months, and if he's given it a few months and he's really getting no results and he's stuck, then you're not really going to. Like, you still would have learned a lot about the game. You can always go back to Annie or something, Like, it's not like you're going backwards. You might just be stuck in place for a while. So I don't really see a downside. Do it for 5 months and then report back, and then you can always kind of pivot. I think if you really love the champ as much as you say you do, you'll make it work.
I agree.
You'll make it work.
Just in case, just know it's going to be very difficult.
Yep, it's going to be difficult though.
More difficult than, you might see someone like your friend, let's say he's at the same rank and he's playing Galio and he gets to like
Malzahar, he gets a platform.
And he's like, so fast and, that could like...
Yeah, be prepared that will happen.
Yeah.
Potentially. Your friend picks up Malz, gets way past your rank in a light year, and then you're like, oh, okay. As long as you're okay with that.
All right, what's the end of this podcast? Good work, everyone. Mindset. This was a science episode for you.
Yep.
Any closing comments, Curtis?
Good luck on the Rift.
Good luck on the Rift. See you next time.